dos, tres.
Okay, so today we have an amazing speaker with us as we continue this series. Attorney Bond is going to be able to share a number of highlights of her career and her business background, and give you guys an opportunity to ask questions, whether it be about her business accliments or just her being in law. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to show you is a short video.
My mom called me, she was crying, and she was like, "You need to get to the alley right now." I get to the alley, and then I just see tape. I see a white sheet, and I'm just like, no.
This was during the day when everybody was out. It was blatant, not only because of who the victim was, but of where and when it happened.
The type of person that commits this crime is not a person at all. They need to get revenge, they need to get retaliation. Somebody's going to pay for this.
I'm killing everybody, the mothers, the grandmothers, the kids, and everybody. It's like what you call casualties of war.
Definitely the age of this victim would tug at anyone.
This was a case that brought the city to its knees.
Please help me welcome Attorney Bond. Please give it up for her, please.
Hi.
Attorney Bond, pleasure to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Please
Pleasure
have
to
a
meet
seat.
you. Thank you.
All right, that's your microphone.
That's my mic. Okay.
So welcome with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So as you were informed, these are our students this summer, and they're super excited to learn more about business and particularly in this situation, the field of law.
Okay.
So as we get started, tell us a little about yourself, your background, and how you found your way in the pathway of law.
Okay. My name is Glori Bond. I am a lawyer, and most recently, about 7 or 8 months ago, I started my own law firm. I grew up in Roseland, which is a small community in the city of Chicago, but back in the 90s, it was probably, that with Inglewood was probably one of the roughest neighborhoods. Like, I used to have to fight because I did my homework type rough. But went to school, always wanted to be a lawyer, but as I was telling Miss Odom, growing up, I didn't really see lawyers coming from where I was at. So actually my first introduction to a black woman lawyer wasn't even a real one. It was Claire Huxtable off The Cosby Show. And I was like, I like her style, she has it together, and this is something I want to do. When I was about 13 years old, I had 2 cousins go down to Texas for the summer to visit, and they were in a park and they saw 2 girls that they thought was pretty, and they wanted to talk to them. Unbeknownst to them, they were some gangbangers' girlfriends. So they did not take too kindly that these 2 black boys were talking to these Hispanic girls, and they just started shooting. One of my cousins was 17 at the time. He had a gun on him, turned around, blindly shooting, running, and hit one of the boys. He didn't die right away, but eventually he did. And then witnesses in the case came up missing or dead, and I remember my grandfather spending about $40,000 for this white attorney, and my cousin at 17 got 66 years for really self-defense. But I remember being 13, like I could, with all the facts that we was reading, the newspaper clippings, I was like, I could have did a better job than this. So that kind of was my drive to just really get into law. So went to DePaul University, ended up going first to get my paralegal certificate from Loyola University, and then I ended up going to John Marshall Law School, which is now UIC School of Law. And then I spent 4 years being a prosecutor under State's Attorney Kim Fox. I was there first starting off as a prosecutor, was able to work on some pretty profile cases like the R. Kelly or Jussie Smollett case. And then I was promoted to run my own unit. And then I went into private law for about 2 years. And I was one of 3 Black women associates out of about 400 attorneys. And that environment was something else. And what really deemed me to go start my own firm was I was doing the Cook County Bar Minority Job Fair, and I was the only Black interviewer. And so I wanted people to be able to get into spaces like me, but then a lot of us got into those spaces and we didn't stay because of the racism or being extremely toxic and things like that. And everything that I was learning, I was like, I can do this and start my own firm and have internships and go out and do these speaking engagements and kind of introduce people to the law the right way instead of on a different side of the table. And that's just kind of how I got to this point.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I want to let Jonathan ask you a question.
Okay, so for my first question, for students who might be interested in law, what qualities do you think make someone a great lawyer?
Contrary to popular belief, great lawyers listen more than they talk. And so if you listen and pick up context clues and your comprehension level about what's going on in the facts, and you kind of hear what people are not saying, that's a great skill for a lawyer. Your comprehension and your what we call active listening skills, because oftentimes in the courtroom, you can prep, you have these facts, and then people get on the stand and start telling on themselves. And if you're just going off of this sheet that says the next question I'm supposed to ask is this, and didn't catch what they just said and kind of pounce on that, you can miss a big break in your case or just something important.
So as you talk about your background and how you got into the legal field, I would imagine there were some barriers or some opportunities there was placed intentionally or unintentionally to discourage you. Mm-hmm. How would you say you were able to manage that or get through those barriers of discouragement as you went through this process?
I say you all have an advantage I didn't have. I'm a first generation lawyer, so nobody went before me. Nobody was able to tell me the pitfalls or even what to expect. And not just from the real world, but from family or whatever. I graduated at the top of my class in law school, in high school, And I told my counselor I wanted to be a lawyer, and one of the first challenges to challenge whether or not you really want to do something regardless of what other people say. Now, I had a 4.6 GPA, top 10% in my class, and I said, hey, I want to go to this school and I want to do this. And my counselor was like, Black students don't do well, so maybe you need to pick a different major or a different concentration. And I'm looking at my grades like I've proven I do well, right? But that was the first step. College, the cost was prohibitive. I went to DePaul, and I stayed on campus, and I'm not gonna tell you what year that was, so I don't know what it is now. But at the time, it was about $40,000 a year, and my parents didn't make that kind of money, so I had to rely on scholarships and things like that and working my way through school. Then my sophomore year, I ended up pregnant, and I had my son. So then I was faced with, what am I going to do? I had a teacher fail me because I missed finals because I was in labor, and having a baby wasn't a good enough excuse. So I had to retake that class because, apparently having a child,
doesn't qualify.
It didn't qualify. Yeah. But when you're sitting there, you're like, all these things are stacked up against me. Absolutely. So I ended up graduating and going into law school. And again, that was another challenge. When you go to law school, they tell you to look to your left, look to your right, because at graduation, only one of you will be there because they have a curve. So, I would say the biggest challenge when you're pursuing a career, and I can go on and on and on about, at the law firm I was at, I had a white partner tell me literally after he berated me for like 40 minutes that I'm gonna break you and I'm gonna make you quit. because he wanted somebody else hired, but they couldn't justify not hiring me, right?
Right.
And so then it was like, let's do things to like get her out. And I say these things because when you set yourself to have a plan and you really, really want something, opposition may come in ways that you never imagined, but you have to have it deep down that this is really what you want to do, that you're not going to allow anybody to break your spirit. That's not to say you're not going to have days where you are questioning your decisions, but when you know that this is your purpose, when you know that there is something in you that this is what you're supposed to do, and a tenet that I live by is somebody else's life depends on your obedience. So somebody else's life depends on you making the decisions that you need to make and you getting where you need to get, because you just don't know how you making it and doing what you're supposed to do is going to help or save somebody else.
Absolutely.
For my next question, I wanted to know, are you a believer in God? And if so, how has that faith played a crucial role in your success?
I am. My grandfather was a bishop. My mother was a pastor, so I'm a PK.
Okay.
That played a huge role because I think like most kids who are growing up in church, who are away from home for the first time, you're trying to find yourself outside of that. So even though you were taught things, you want to do what you want to do because you now have freedom for the first time ever in your life. But what I learned was that my faith in God was not a burden. It's actually the things that help get me through and navigate some very difficult situations. And for me personally, prayer and fasting gave me strategy in cases, strategy to pass the bar. I mean, the bar exam, that was 8 hours a day for 2 days with 1 hour break. And I would go in my car, and while other people were sleeping, I'll hear in my spirit, go look at agency. And I'm like, okay, because you don't know what's on the test. And I look at it, and I go back, and the next section is agency. It played a huge role in what I have to do, even with the clients that I have. In addition to my other practice groups, I'm a civil rights lawyer. So now, due to our administration, I get a ton of clients that are experiencing employment discrimination based on race, just civil rights, illegal traffic stops, where I have to be in the place to just like really not be moved by a lot of the evil that I see and kind of keep my heart centered. And so having faith in a relationship with God really helps me not become the things that I hate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before you started your own firm, can you talk to us about, you've talked about some of your background from an educational standpoint in your practice. Can you talk about how you saw yourself as a leader? Because oftentimes we look in the room as our young students, they don't see themselves as leaders. We as adults, those who's in education, we see the leadership qualities. But how did you determine, or where did you find your leadership capacity as you navigated college and then going to law school?
So I think the biggest thing is when you get into college, everything's on your own. When you're in high school, everything is structured. When you're in college, you have to pick your own classes. There's nobody waking you up. You have to go. You have to be structured to do the reading, to do the homework, and then to decide what to do. And then there's a lot of activities, student unions, groups that you can start to join in college to kind of, lend to your personality or help you feel like find where you fit rather. And so in college, I became part of different organizations and rose to leadership in those organizations. So I got the first taste of having to work with different personalities, working with people from all different types of backgrounds, different states, different cities, just different upbringings and different ideologies about how they thought about things. And so that carried over into my career to be able to work with all different types of people and to be able to kind of pivot quickly when need to. So I would say when you're in high school, and you're running track, or you're in drama, or
Absolutely.
you're, run for class president, run for class treasurer, because the more people you're around, the more opportunities you have to navigate difficult decisions, difficult personalities, and it really teaches you emotional intelligence, because you're not going to get along with everybody. I don't care how sweet, how nice. You have some people that they are just miserable and they hate you for breathing. It's just and there's nothing you can do about it. But how you respond to what happens is what makes the difference.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And to build on that, as you may know, starting any business takes courage, and most businesses tend to fail within the first couple months and years of being launched. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when launching your own law firm?
Fear. For that reason. And I'll just be completely transparent. So I was leaving stability. I had a law firm job where I was making $290,000 a year. Why would I leave that to not know where my next paycheck is coming from? Like, that makes no sense. But speaking to what I spoke about earlier, that environment where it wasn't a lot that looked like me, and they were not being supportive or helping the career. When I left the state's attorney's office, I left as a supervisor, so there really was nowhere else for me to go. But to be like a bureau chief, and I love being a lawyer, and they just pushed papers. I didn't want to do that. So then I went to the law firm because I wanted to learn new areas of law and get new challenges and get exposure to a lot, which I did. But then it was like, well, what do you do now? Do you want to go partner and keep doing the rigmarole? And I just realized, for as much hours as I was putting in and what I was doing, I will bring cases of people that really need help, and they'll be like, well, that doesn't align with the firm, so you can't take that case, you can't. So then I'm like, okay, I know I was sent here to help people. I don't want to just be driven by money. Some of these people have really just been really wrong, and they need somebody that believes in their case. They need somebody that believes in them. And so I sat on and struggled with a year of starting my law firm. And because I believe in God, he kept telling me, now's the time, now's the time, now's the time. And I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do it. And so I often say, don't let God drop kick you out of places that you done grew out of. So what happened was, that situation at the law firm became really egregious, just in the mistreatment and all of those things. And I ended up suing them, getting a lot of money, and I used that money to start my firm.
Don't let God punch you out of where you should have been left a long time ago, is the message. So as you speak about your law firm, take us down the path of what gets you excited about continuing to see law. We understand, as you spoke, about individuals who may be in situations where you're the only person that's a lifeline when they've been wrong. Along those lines, whether it be AI or other things that are coming through the practice of law, what gets you excited about the opportunity to lead a firm in law?
The biggest thing that gets me excited probably has nothing to do with the law. It's the fact that, okay, I was coming from court today, but I got asked to do this, and I didn't have to ask nobody, could I do this?
Absolutely.
Like, I got a chance to come and speak to you all because that's what I wanted to do. If one of you say, Ms. Bond, I want to, become a lawyer, or I'm interested in pre-law, or I tell people all the time, law school opens a lot of doors. You don't have to become a lawyer. You don't have to become a judge. A lot of CEOs and other people have law degrees because it teaches them how to read contracts and do business. So you can do that. The fact that keeps me going is I can come in here and hand my card and say I can offer you an internship, or I can expose you to scholarships. The other thing that gets me excited about the law is because I don't care if you have 18,000 discrimination cases, the fact sets about them are all different. So lawyers constantly learn. I know on TV it looks like we know the law off the bat. That's not really how that works. We have to go look it up. Laws change all of the time. And so you really constantly learn. So every time I get a client, every time I get a fact set, I'm learning something new all of the time, and I'm put in challenging positions all of the time. But me personally, I like that. I like being on my feet. I like thinking on my feet. I like things that don't allow me to get bored because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So even as, you know, these Supreme Court cases come down, it's changing the landscape of law, which is changing how I'm able to do things, or changing the cases that I rely on to win cases, or, you know, sometimes you lose them, and it has nothing to do with you didn't have a great case. That's why you all having this opportunity is very good, because sometimes you just had a bad judge or you have a bad jury. Hey, when y'all turn 18, go to jury duty, okay? Because it's supposed to be a jury of your peers. But if you don't go to jury duty, you might catch yourself in the case, and all the people on the jury don't look anything like you, and so you're trying to explain why you're in the situation that you're in, and they cannot relate. So I like the fact that it keeps me on my feet. I have autonomy. I can do what I want to do. I can help who I need to help, and, you know, not have to justify that with anybody.
Absolutely.
As you said earlier, you said that listening skills make a good lawyer. So I wanted to know, did you have a mentor, and if so, how did that play into your success?
So because I was a first generation lawyer in law, initially I did not have a mentor. I didn't have a mentor until I was well into law school, and I joined the Cook County Bar Association as a law student. That is the oldest bar association for Black lawyers and judges in the country. So when you are a law student, you have access to judges, to other attorneys, and they do have mentorship programs. So I became a part of that, and that was a huge game changer for me. And they exposed me to a whole nother world that I didn't understand or know was out there, or even when it came to applying to jobs. You know, people think you apply to a job to be a lawyer. Once you graduate law school, you pass the bar. I didn't know anything about summer associates, summer internships, working for these firms, so that by the time they did graduate, they had already hired these people 2 years before. I was like behind the curve, but I was learning those things. And so I have a mentor. I have mentors in law. I have mentors in life. I have mentors and my sorority. I have, you never not need a mentor, even once you become a mentor yourself, because lives, and you are constantly growing and changing. It helps to have people that you can bounce ideas off of, or just have been through things that you have yet to experience that you can constantly learn from.
I want to piggyback on a slight brag you had. What was your GPA in high school again? I'm just asking the question.
Yes.
4.6. You were in the top.
Thank you for listening.
There you go. You were in the top 10% of your graduating class, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like for you to speak about, as you matriculated through post-secondary, law school and all that thing, how you believe the foundation of you being a great student in high school and secondary school in general, how that gave you a level of confidence to be competent as you went through those challenges as you moved on.
I think more so than the intellect, you don't get a grade point average like that simply because you're smart. You have people that are very smart. They can read something one time, remember it. They can pick up things quickly. That was not me. I think what helped me was the discipline and studying and acknowledging those areas where I know I wasn't good at. Statistics in college made me almost want to jump off the roof.
Say it.
Okay, because I knew I wasn't good in math. Right? I was strong in reading. I was strong in math, just was not my thing. Or I was strong in writing. Nobody's going to be great in everything. So, when you know you don't have an area that you're very strong in, don't be ashamed. Get a tutor, get help, get somebody to help you, walk you through the process so you can get it done and over with. That's not to say that, you know, you will ever need it again, but what it does is it creates a discipline in you where you know you're not good at something, and that's okay. And you know you need help in something, and that's okay. And you do what you need to do. And then those things that you excel at, well, then you can in turn help somebody and be able to help them excel at the things that they're good at. And so having that good foundation basically showed me that when I had a class that I was not very good at, okay, you went from being the top of your class to you staring at a potential F in stats or calculus. I dropped that class. Dropped that class. Don't let it mess up your GPA. But I just wasn't great at it. And then I had to say, this is not a failure for me, right? Because I tried my hardest. That's the other thing. Sometimes you can give something everything you got and still fail. And that shouldn't stop you. That's life. You are going to fail at things. And I tell people all the time, it's not so much what happens to you, but it's how you respond to what happens to you. It's not how people treat you, it's how you respond to how people treat you. And that can make the difference. You might have a class, you might have a teacher, you might have a friend or associate that how you respond will make the world a difference. So just having that foundation when you get into challenging parts, at least academically, and you know that overall you're a good student, then that won't shake your confidence when you meet with a bad class or maybe a teacher. People can know a lot of stuff and still be bad teachers. Teaching is a gift, okay? So everybody that knows everything that they know, it doesn't always be able to translate it into a way that people can learn. So sometimes you just might have a bad teacher or you just might have a bad class, and that's okay. You have to have the discipline enough to know that I need to study, I need to try my hardest, and, you know, and whatever happens is gonna happen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Speaking on that discipline that you just talked about, what role did consistency play from high school to college to law school and so forth?
You have to study. So because my major was political science and politics and things like that changed all the time, you know, something that happened 2 weeks ago is happening now, may be irrelevant 2 weeks from now. And so you can't just stay on what you think you know. You have to be an avid learner, and you have to constantly be open to learn new things and to hear new things. I think one of the things that's missing now is whenever somebody presents an idea that is different, now we want to cancel them or we want to come against them, when free thought is what makes us us. And having people who don't agree with you and who offer different perspectives actually hones your arguing skills, because absolutely. You know, you don't really have to think if you're surrounded by people that are essentially clones of yourself. You should surround yourself with people that challenge you, that thinks differently. Me and my best friends, we are all very different and we think very different, but it makes for great conversations because we offer just, you know, different perspectives and opinions. And so I think that helps.
So you're a lawyer, you're a mother, you're a boss. You have all these things going on, right? And so when we think about our students and we think about them being part of different activities and trying to maintain these high standards of academic excellence, how do you, or what would be your advice on how you manage time, pressure of being responsible for other people while at the same time making sure you're taking care of your own mental health? Yeah. Deep breath.
Yeah, deep breath. I think it's important to note that in every season of your life, your priorities shift. And so what I like to do is every quarter I make a new list of priorities about what is important to me at that particular time. What's important to me this quarter may not have been important to me last year, may not be important. And so from there, I determine, so in this quarter, if I know I don't have a lot of trials, What else can I prioritize? Okay, now I'm going to travel. I'm going to spend time with family, or I'm going to do what I need to do. For you all, you have to prioritize what's important and what's necessary and what's not. If you know you're trying to get a scholarship or you need to study for a test, yeah, you might want to go to Great America with your friends or hang out. And it's not to say that you can't do those things. You all are children and you should be able to enjoy your childhood. But when you know you have a goal, it's a temporary sacrifice to not be able to hang out that weekend.
Absolutely.
So you have to prioritize what's important to you. And I keep saying it that way because what's important is different to everybody sitting in here. Everybody don't have the same goals. And so that discipline and knowing that if you sacrifice something just for a little while, it will pay off for you in the long run goes a real long way. And I think sometimes when you're kids or you're in high school, kids will be kids or whatever, but sometimes we make decisions that have a lasting effect even though you were just a kid when you made it. And one of the biggest positive decisions that you can make is to set a goal for yourself, have a plan on how to execute it and stick to it. And if that means you can't go out or you can't study or you have to skip that show, I mean now things you can watch it whenever.
Right.
Okay. I grew up where if you missed it, you missed it. But you know, you have to prioritize you, and not in a selfish way, not in a arrogant or self-serving way. You have to prioritize you to the point where you feel like you're important enough that whatever you set your mind to do, that you're worth making it happen.
Absolutely.
So first off, I just wanted to know, are you in a sorority?
I am.
You're an AKA, right?
Yes.
Sir, what's going on? Go ahead with your question. That ain't on the card, but go ahead.
It's on the card.
Okay, it's on the card. I don't want to get sued. It's on the card. Go ahead, sir.
I am an AKA.
What role did sorority play in the big picture?
What role does sorority play in the big? Man, especially now, it plays a lot. So shout out to my soror, Miss Odom. Ski with my line sister, actually.
All right.
For example, I went into a courtroom and people had been complaining about this judge, whatever, blah, blah. And you got to know your judges, right? And so this guy was a particular man judge, and I you know, we don't wear paraphernalia in professional settings, but I found out that he was an alpha, right, which is like our brother or type. So I just went into my purse and I was writing my order with my little AKA pen, right? And so he saw it and ended up like giving me more leadway or whatever and said, hey, I have a very high earning divorce case that's coming in and these people need a lawyer. So, hey, give them your card, stick around if you can and do this. There are different things that I was running for where people in the sorority who were lawyers or judges, or maybe not, but they had connections to other places. And because they knew that I was in this sorority, they opened up doors for me to do certain things. And, you know, sororities and fraternities get a bad rap. One, I will say, when you're just talking about being a sorority or fraternity in general, you know, we say, you make the letters don't make you, right? So you use it for what it is. A great network, you have people that can open up doors, but that shouldn't become like your whole identity and consume, or you doing things that are out of character because you want to put letters on. How that has helped me was as I navigated my career, it was like, oh, there's this other AKA that's a lawyer. Go talk to her, see what her challenges was. Oh, you want to be a judge? Well, here's 3 AKA judges, or here's 3 alpha judges, or here's 3 Q judges, but they're black judges and they can sit down and tell you the challenges that they face in the judiciary as being a black person or things like that. So that has helped me in the grand scheme of things, because I'm gonna be honest, there are some things that because I was affiliated with that, I got the opportunity over somebody else because I was in that sorority. Okay.
Thank you for your honest feedback and representation of your affiliation. As we wind down, we want to give students a chance to ask questions. So I think my final question to give you, I know many people, when they're successful, it's tough for them to talk about themselves, if you will. But we're going to remove that right now. Okay. So what I would like for you to do is talk about how your law firm is uniquely qualified to service the individuals that you believe can come to you for support. What does that look like as you lead a group and your mission statement of your law firm? And you can brag on yourself.
What makes me unique is that I'm a Black woman-owned law firm, and Black woman lawyers only make up 2% of lawyers in the country.
Right.
And so the fact that I have my own law firm and one that is successful is what makes us unique, just from being a Black woman and having that perspective. How I can assist my clients and what makes that unique is I was a prosecutor for 4 years, so I was a person who was getting people from going against the law. And then I was in private for 2 years, and then I was able to navigate people on outside the law. So I'm unique in the sense that at one point I was a law, and so now I learned how to teach people how to navigate the law and what their rights are from a different perspective. And I have a very hands-on approach. You have people pay their retainers or their deposits, and you may or may not hear from them. I meet my clients face to face all of the time, and sometimes I take them out, not just to talk about the law, but to ask them how they're doing or how they're navigating. I have a client where we have a discrimination case because she was fired because she has breast cancer. So I came and I sat while she was getting her chemo treatments just to talk to her to see how she's doing. Most people are worried about billables, and they're not worried about the people, and they're not worried about the clients. They're worried about their bottom line. And what makes the Bond Legal Group unique is that we are people-driven and justice-oriented is our motto. We care about our clients. We care about what happens to them beyond the courtroom, because once we win in this courtroom, after you're done, I want to make sure that you're okay. I want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to be successful or have learned something, even in the business aspect. Okay, now we're going to redo these contracts so you don't ever have to be in this place again, or things like that. And so I think that that's what makes us unique. Yes, you need money to run, but we're not driven by it. We're really driven by helping people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. All right, this is the time where we look at our beautiful students and we give them an opportunity to engage with you.
Okay.
And ask those questions. They keep flashing this time. I would say something, but I'm not going to say what Dr. Mackenzie said. But nevertheless, students, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. As you all know, when called upon, stand up, say your name, and start your questions. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Tamia Jenkins.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So as a lawyer, how much of your job requires you to be in court versus doing research or paperwork, and has law school prepared you for that?
Yeah. So I was a little late today because I was coming from court. So 90% of your job is doing research, writing briefs, managing clients. Only 10% is spent in the courtroom. So the courtroom is the culmination of all of your research, writing briefs, and managing clients. The courtroom is what I like to say, like when you play in a video game, it's the final boss. It's like every level that you did leading up to that is when you get into court. Most people try to stay out of court because they want to settle, because going to court and having trials are very, very expensive. But a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of understanding what you read and write and being able to communicate that to your client, because sometimes clients walk in and they have their own idea about how they feel the case should go, or what should be easy to prove, or how they feel the law works, and it's the complete opposite. And just educating your client about what the law actually is, and then making educated decisions from there.
Perfect. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna come back to y'all. Okay, I'm going back and forth. Name and speak loud, please.
Okay. Well, for one, hi. It's
Hi.
very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Vaughn. My name is Kyle Watson, and I remember you saying that you wanted to be a lawyer since you were 13. I've always wanted to be a lawyer, but how do you deal with fear of failure?
That's every time you have a case, it's fear of failure. How you deal with it is knowing that, going back to the discipline and being prepared. If you know that case inside out, if you know that you did the study guides, let's start before even becoming a lawyer. You have to take the LSAT, which is the law school admissions test, after college, and then you have to get into a law school. So a lot of people don't take that test, or they don't pursue things because of fear of failure. I would just say it goes back to being disciplined and studying and knowing that you prepared the best that you could, and releasing that weight off of you and going and do the best. And it's always going to be a waiting game, but anything in life, you cannot allow fear to paralyze you. It will make you not make some great decisions or miss out on huge opportunities because you felt like maybe you wasn't good enough or you weren't prepared. I will say to you all, no matter what your career choice is, you belong in that room and you belong there. And so once you get that in your head, a lot of that failure goes away. I think it was President Obama recently gave an interview, and he said sometimes you get in these rooms with world leaders and all that, and you realize they're not that smart, and they got there some kind of way. So don't sell yourself short. Don't cheat yourself out of something prematurely simply because you're scared. Fear is a natural course of life. It's going to happen. It's just you talking to yourself, or just doing it afraid and making sure that you're giving yourself the opportunity to carry out your dream.
Diamond. I'm sorry, students.
What is your favorite and least favorite aspect of your job?
I love being in the courtroom, so that's like my favorite part, because you really get to show what you're made of, and all the hard work that you put in there. My least favorite is just managing very difficult people that sometimes have no sense of reality. Like, I have a client that's like, I want $5 million. Sir, this case is worth like 50,000. Okay, so it's just like, you're not gonna get 5 million. So really quickly, I had a guy call me. I did not hire him as a client. He said he was racially profiled at the dollar store, and that the lady poked him and was like, leave, because she thought he was saying, he was like, and I want to own them all. And I'm like, sir, that's not, did she poke you on purpose? And if that's the case, go press a battery charge. It's not going to get you 500,000 or whatever. So sometimes the difficult and least favorite is managing people's expectations and their emotions. My least favorite when I was a prosecutor was just the fact that I was a prosecutor, and that I got met with a lot of flack from black people that's like, oh, you trying to put people away. And I'm just like, no, it's just the opposite. Because as a prosecutor, you have what they call prosecutorial discretion, which means you can decide not to pursue charges or to drop a case. And even though in Chicago, we are the second largest prosecutor office in the nation, I got you. there wasn't a ton of black ASAs, so people, a lot of these cases were getting overturned from corrupt police officers or people copping to things that they didn't actually do because they was beaten to. So I became a prosecutor to be like, if it's not enough evidence to charge this person, guess what, we're not charging them, that everybody gets a fair shake under the law. So sometimes when people heard prosecution, it just came with a whole bunch of other things, and that wasn't always fun. So I know she held up the fight.
Yeah, she keep putting the time on us, but okay. Let's see if we can get a few more in. And if we don't get your questions, we'll cut the cameras off.
And talk to you.
Attorney Bond has promised to stick around. Okay.
Hi, Ms. Bond.
Hi.
My name is Mila. So nice to meet you.
Nice
so
to
my
meet you.
question is, how do you measure success in your profession for both you and your clients?
I measure success not from the money amount, but what my client walks away with. It's great walking away with a win, but sometimes people walk away with a win and they're still not happy, right? Because that really wasn't what they needed. Mm-hmm. You know, it's no different than when you are a prosecutor and we convict somebody for murder, right? Yeah, they're going away, but that family doesn't get their child back. Mm-hmm. And so it helps knowing they're off the street, but what they have to live with every day after that's not. So for a win for me is knowing that my client and I have felt like we got a fair shake, justice was served, or even if it wasn't, maybe the facts just wasn't on our side, but that they got their day in court and that somebody fought for them. And when a client tells me, thank you so much because you fought for me, that's a win for me, even over like a court win, because they know that somebody cared. They know somebody brought their best game to get them the outcome that they wanted. So that's how I gauge success for me.
All right, we'll have one final question on camera, and for those who want to stick around and ask questions, we'll give you an opportunity to ask those questions, okay? All right. Hey.
How you doing?
Hi.
My name is Aiden Davis. I'm going into my senior year at Thornwood High School.
Okay.
My question is, being a black woman going into the field of law, how did those struggles with life build your character and get you to where you are right now?
So being black and brown, you know, that comes with a unique set of challenges that we just face on the day-to-day. And so I love having programs like this because you all, I think, learn very early on who you are, what you want, and what you're made of. And so that built my character, because when you are a black woman lawyer and you're part of the 2%, your character and your integrity and your drive and just your ability to be there gets attacked every single day. And so that goes back to, you know, I say, you know, you take the hits, but you keep going. So when this is something that you know that you're built for, something that you really want to do, and then you have people around you that are speaking life into you, pouring into you, and reaffirming you when you are taking those hits, that helps you continue on when you are in very difficult spaces or spaces that just don't flat out want you there.
All right. I think my time monitor has expired. So what I want to do is please give Attorney Bond a loud round of applause for her time. We thank you, Attorney Bond, for joining us. This concludes our series. Right now, she'll stick around for questions, but for the sake of cameras, we'll go ahead and end this broadcast. Thank you all for being attentive and respectful of the time and the space that we have right here. All right, thank you.
Thank you.